Hi everyone. Okay, so I don't have the Tumblr quote of the day, but I really want to make this video about how I stopped self-harming. Hopefully it will help some of you guys. But this is more of like how I stopped doing it, and I'm sure you can go online and find 100 different ways and 100 different tips to help you stop self-harming. But this is how I did it and how it actually sort of worked for me, or at least made me self-harm a lot less than I used to. I'm not really gonna do it in like a point. I'm gonna do it from my memory. I can say I remember when the school found out that I was self-harming and they had to call my dad in, and my dad knew about it briefly, and he always wanted me to stop. And I remember we were driving back in the car and I was crying and I was like, you don't understand that this is an addiction. It's a physical addiction, it's a emotional addiction, and you can't just expect me to stop because I am addicted to it. I told him, I was like, I don't understand why you're making such a big deal about it. I've already been clean for 43 days. And he said to me, I don't understand why you're counting the days, because you're telling me that you're gonna be clean forever. If you want to be clean forever, why are you counting the days? If you want to be clean forever, then you don't need to count the days because you're gonna be forever clean. And that hit me hard because I was like, why am I counting the days? And I realized it was more like, I'm counting the days because I would feel better when I did self-harm afterwards and be like, it's okay, I've been clean for blah 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 days. I broke down. But a lot of the times I would beat myself up the longer those days were, and when I beat myself up so much, it made me feel or more inclined to self-harm, which obviously was kind of counterproductive. And I remember I used to hide my razors. I remember one time I was cleaning my room and I just found this bag and it had a date on it, and it was a bag of razors, and I realized that I must have hid it from before, and I was kind of shocked, but I was kind of like happy at the same time that I actually hid those razors for, I think it was like 2 years, because it had a date on them and I didn't find them, and I forgot that they were there because there's been many times where I wanted to self-harm but I didn't have the tool to, and which led to me not self-harming. That's why I think it's so important to get rid of what you use to self-harm. Whether you burn yourself or whether you slice yourself with a razor or a knife, a craft knife or whatever, I think it's really, really important just to throw those things away. It's even better when you have a friend to do it for you, because I just hid it in my room. I knew that I would find it one day and I would be able to use it, or if I remembered and I felt sad, then I would be able to find it and then use it on myself. But it's so much easier when you have a friend to control that for you, because a lot of the times when you are self-harming, your mind is clouded, and it's clouded by, especially while you're self-harming, it's just clouded and you can't think straight, you can't think rationally, and that's why it's so important to have a friend or a sister, someone you know close to you, who really cares about you. It's really important to have that person and tell them what the fuck's going on, and then they can help you get rid of those razors, because there's been so many times where I was like, I'm gonna flush my razors down the bathroom, down the toilet, and I looked at the toilet and I never did, because I was like always thinking, but what if I'm really sad? What am I gonna do? So it was always like a need to, when you're feeling sad, you wanna run to those razors for comfort. Another tip I would say is, a lot of the times people ask me, how do I tell my parents that I self-harm? And at first, maybe a year ago, I'd reply, why do you need to tell your parents? But I do believe that you should tell your parents. The reason why I said, why should you tell your parents? You don't need to. You don't need to come out and be like, I'm self-harming. And that's because when I did, to be honest, things got a hell of a lot worse. When the school found out that I was self-harming, it got so much worse. They forced me to wear like long socks just to hide my scars, which made me feel like it was a disability, and that still affects me to this day. And when the school found out basically that I was self-harming, they had to make me go to counseling in the middle of class. They put me on part-time as well from school, and they basically treated me like I was disabled, or that I had some type of disability, and that I wasn't as normal as the rest of the kids were, just because my self-harm was more noticeable than theirs, because I was doing it so much. and my counselor actually knew about it, and she didn't tell anybody or tell the rest of the school for 1 whole year. And the day that she did was right before my exams, and me and my parents were very, very mad because she had a whole year to tell the school that I was self-harming, but she waited until right before my exam. And basically, the reason why I didn't want people to come out about self-harm is because I thought it would make issues a lot worse, because for me, when I came out, it made issues a lot worse. When I told my parents that I self-harmed, my mom didn't really say anything. She kind of understood, but my dad was like, stop now. And I can't disappoint my dad, so what I do is I lie to him. And I said, okay, I'll stop now, or he'll be like, when was the last time you did it? And I'll be like, oh, 3 months ago. So self-harm is something that I've been consistently lying to my parents about, pretty much, which probably isn't great advice, but I feel confident in it. To me, it's more of an individual problem, and I didn't really want to have, to tell my parents. But the reason why I think you should tell your parents is because they can get you professional help. They can get you the help that you need. And for example, when I came out to my parents, I said, I need a psychiatrist. And the next day, my dad got me a psychiatrist. I was lucky enough that I have a father like that, so when I say I need something like this, he will get it for me for the next day. He arranged a way for me to go there. Arranged a way for me to go to psychiatry, as in transportation-wise. So I would have a bus ride there, and then I have a taxi back home. Just because if I didn't have a ride to get there, I'd make excuses and be like, oh, I'm not going to psychiatry today, I don't feel like it, blah, 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 I'm feeling sick. But because he made it so easy for me to, and he gave me the money for it, then it made it easy for me. And that's why I think it's important for you to actually come out to your parents, because they can give you that help. And if you're in a situation where your parents cannot help you like that, then you can go to a teacher. I think my teachers knew about my self-harm way before my parents did. I can tell you, my teachers knew about my self-harm way before my parents did, and they helped me through it, but mainly with emotional support. And because I looked up to my teachers and I saw them as, very wise people, and so when they gave me advice, I took it at heart. And I took it as in, these people barely know me, they know me as a student, yet they still care so much about me. In another video, I'll probably talk about the time when one of my teachers noticed my self-harm and what he did about it. I'll do that in another video. Please remind me as well. I'm kind of going off on a different tangent, but I guess coming together, how I stopped self-harming is by telling people. I told my friends first before my parents, or before, teachers and everything. So with friends, I think it is important to let your friends know. A lot of the times they will find out about it because they're aware of these issues, more so than adults are. There will be people who will be judgmental towards you, and there will be friends who won't understand, and there will be friends who will get mad at you for doing it because they care about you. And that's what I have to remind you, it's because they care about you, why your friends get mad at you for doing that. Because I've had a lot of friends be mad at me and not put me down, but make me feel guilty when I did self-harm, and I realized it was their kind of way to be like, you don't need to do this, like, I care about you too much. I've also had friends who fell into self-harm because I guess I sort of influenced them too, not intentionally, of course, and I've gotten a lot of people look down upon me because my friends started self-harming. I mean, even though I did it first, even though they had their separate problems, but I was the one who did it first, so I got most of the blame, This is in high school, by the way, I'm talking about. But how I stopped it, I guess, was mainly for what we have so far. 1, throwing away all your razors, throwing away all your equipment or whatever you use to hurt yourself physically. 2, telling someone who can help you and get you a psychiatrist. Mainly a parent or a teacher. And 3, stop counting the days, because that's gonna make your mind believe that there is gonna be something at the end of those days, and that's mainly a self-harm cut or a purge or a pinch or a burn, for example, airplane. Another way how I stopped self-harming, it's not as specific as the first 3, but I started hanging around people who weren't as toxic. I started hanging around with people who made me feel like I deserved to feel happy, who made me feel safe and comfortable, who made me feel like I was beautiful inside and out. I started hanging out with people who were understanding and also had mental illnesses. And I am quite attracted to people who do have mental illnesses because I know they're able to understand me, and because I've been with so many people who are so confident and have had everything going with them in their life, and they can't understand why self-harm. And when I do it, sometimes they blame it on themselves and they don't understand that it's not because of them. It is an individual problem. And quick tip, don't ever blame someone for your self-harm. You are the one who cut your skin. It is no one else's fault. Do not ever make them hold your feelings in their hands, because you're going to be cornering them and they're going to feel like they're suffocating. So another way how I started to self-harm, yes, is pretty much by hanging around people who made me feel like a good person, who made me feel like I didn't deserve to do that to myself. I started hanging around people who would stroke my scars and tell me that they're okay and that they're not as ugly as I think they are. I think this is pretty much everything on the top of my head. I know there's so many more points that you could find online, but this is mainly how it worked for me. I can't say that I've fully stopped self-harm, but I have decreased the amount of times I do it. But I can certainly say that I am more confident as a person. The less I self-harm, the more better I feel about myself. And you can trust that the longer it is that you don't self-harm, the more better you feel. And I'm gonna wish everybody luck who is watching this video. I'm gonna wish you guys so much luck. Seriously, I know people might say that, oh, just stop. Why don't you just stop cutting? And it's a lot harder and it's a lot easier said than done. And people who don't understand your issues and who have some type of judgment because you self-harm, you don't need that type of negativity in your life. You don't need people to put you down. Those people need to be cut out of your life, and I understand it must be fucking hard when they are your parents or your sister or your brother or someone you live with, but focus on being around people who make you feel positive and who are proud of you when you don't self-harm and who are there for you when you do. People that you call when you're sad and you want to self-harm. You gotta surround yourself with those people, because those people will make you feel like you don't deserve to do that to yourself and you don't deserve to destroy and self-destruct yourself. They make you feel like you should be loved. And I think that's what is most important. Your environment is most important. If you're around the most awesome people ever who make you feel like you don't need to self-harm, because they're always going to be there for you and they're going to be your comfort and they're going to be your way of coping, then you wouldn't self-harm. A lot of the time self-harm is about the environment that you're in. And anyways, I gotta go. I have my meet and greet today. Do you like my outfit? Hang on. Is it cute? Okay, thank you. I hope everyone's having a good day. I'm sorry I don't have the Tumblr quote of the day.